Calgary, and went on to become one of the busiest litigators in northern Alberta for a decade. During this time, he became even more active in his community, and he took on numerous leadership roles. His community service has included chairing the Children's Health Foundation for Northern Alberta, founding the Fort McMurray Business Revitalization Zone, Downtown Business Association President, Chamber of Commerce Director, and actually quite a long list of others that I'll skip. In 2004, Brian became Member of Parliament for Fort McMurray, Athabasca. And in 2006, he became the Parliamentary Secretary for the Ministry of Transportation, which is the most complicated and technical department in the federal government. As an effective MP for 10 years, he worked on more than 35 bills, 28 of them becoming Canadian law. And most of this was done with a minority government. In 2014, Brian retired from federal politics. With his son's illness and death at the hands of our broken healthcare system, he was motivated to get back into politics. Following the treacherous floor crossing, and despite having lost his son, as Premier Prentice called a snap election, Brian saved the Wildrose from the brink of destruction and delivered the most MLAs and the strongest opposition in party history. In 2017, he and Jason Kenney signed a deal that united PCs and Wildrose, creating the United Conservative Party. I'm supporting Brian because I don't believe we've ever had a more qualified person to lead our province. From his private sector experience, having run numerous small businesses, to his advanced education background, from his extensive community volunteerism and leadership, to his successful decade as an MP in Ottawa, from his leadership of the official opposition to his unwavering defense of Alberta's fossil fuel sector, Brian has proven to be a leader with a reputation for getting things done through negotiation and building consensus in business, in federal politics, and in Alberta provincial politics. But most of all, I support Brian because of his character. He is honest, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. Brian cares deeply about Alberta and has shown time and time again that he's willing to put Alberta above his own self-interest. During the Fort McMurray wildfire, where he lost his home, Brian inspired the entire province while living in a tent. Then, having just completed the rebuild of his home, the Fort McMurray flood took it again. Very few have shed more blood, sweat, and tears for this province. And yet Brian continues to fight on in the hopes of making Albertans the happiest, the healthiest, the freest, and the most prosperous people in Canada and the world. I believe that Alberta needs a leader who can connect with people. I believe that leadership involves humility and a willingness to listen. I believe that Brian is the leader who can renew the United Conservative Party. It's my pleasure to introduce my friend and the next Premier of Alberta, Brian Jean.
Yeah! There he is. That was a good speech by Steve Thompson. I got the zoom on bad.
Please sit down. For those of you who can't. My friends. First of all, Steve, thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you, my friends, for being here tonight. My friends that have supported me for so many years in so many things politically. One time I thought I was out, and I came back, and you supported me. Another time I thought I was out, and you came back and supported me again. So to all my old friends, my loyal friends, loyalty means a lot, and it means the world to me.
Attaboy, Brian.
And I recognize a lot of faces here, folks who've been out to support me for a long time. And I also want to thank all the new supporters, all the new faces. Because there's a lot of new faces. Thank you for being here. In fact, that's a great starting point for my remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll have noticed, as I have, all of the fresh voices starting to echo through today's politics here in Alberta. There's been a shift. People who have never participated before, who have stayed on the sidelines, who aren't, say, political by nature, well, they're here. They're awake. They know they need to be involved. They know they need to listen, need to be heard. They want to make a difference in politics in Alberta. And they will. They, and there are plenty of them here today, these folks who awaken to how vital the moment is. They're here to take us over the top. They are here to propel this campaign to victory.
Attaboy, Brian.
You see, in the past, almost half of Albertans didn't vote. They were happy enough with politics and politicians. They were comfortable that the differences between this political party and that political party wouldn't make too much difference in their lives. But that changed about 10 years ago, as more and more voters began to feel that politicians just simply weren't listening to them. Anybody here feel that way?
Oh, yeah.
And at that stage, Albertans began to rebel against political arrogance, against the petty corruption of lobbyists and gatekeepers, against politicians who didn't respect them and didn't listen to them. Albertans became more and more upset. And as a result, Albertans dumped a 40-year dynasty in their anger. They voted against the things they didn't like in the PC party, even though they knew that there were things about the NDP party that they were really, really not going to like. And a lot of voters just decided not to vote at all. It's never comfortable for an Albertan to hold his or her nose and vote for the least bad option. Albertans have a proud history of voting for the opportunities that they want, not against people. Albertans wanted to send a message, and a message of protest they did. They protested this province right into an NDP majority to send that message. Our United Conservative Party was created to help solve that disconnect between what voters want and what they were getting from normal politics. From late 2017 to early 2019, we heard all the right things. Grassroots guarantee, servant leadership, work hard, stay humble. Stand accountable? Well, that was what our leaders told us. That's what they said. And the voters rewarded the United Conservatives in Alberta with a huge mandate. I was so happy. And then, no delivery. The grassroots were not consulted. Our leadership looked entitled and arrogant, telling us to do one thing while they acted like the rules did not apply to them. Sitting around being served Jameson whiskey on the Sky Palace balcony. Passing laws that were never put into force, even as they bragged about them in political speeches. Needless fights were picked with the everyday Albertans who are central to our rural and small city communities. Our doctors, nurses, teachers. And now, with an election coming just a year from now, we are at risk of getting the NDP re-elected here in Alberta.
No.
We run the risk that the anger of everyday Albertans will return to us the shrill anger of an NDP government in Alberta. And if the NDP's angry politics return, it won't be an accident this time. It will be the result of things the United Conservative Party has done and has failed to do. A second NDP majority with a Liberal NDP federal coalition in Ottawa. Well, my friends, it will be disastrous for us right here in Alberta. It will be a disaster for all of us. This leadership race must solve this problem. This leadership race matters. Together, we must revive, revitalize, and renew the United Conservative Party of Alberta. That is why Albertans who are new to the political scene need to get involved. I'm asking you to head over to briang.ca and sign up. We can renew our party, and we can, as a result, renew Alberta. People who participate in political parties are the ones who set the agendas and make the differences. When we get it right, your influence in our party determines what happens in government and our lives. And when we get it wrong, well, everybody suffers as a result. And when the grassroots supporters get to keep us focused on what really matters here, well, that's a good thing. Too often it's the gatekeepers, it's the vested interest, it's the lobbyists, and it's the backroom money that sets the direction for your lives.
Absolutely, Brian.
And my friends, it's profitable for them. The backroom money lobbyist insiders have profited from every decision they've influenced, and they've profited from every failure they caused. Meanwhile, normal, everyday Albertans like you have suffered. We have been left behind, and we have not been listened to. We have been disappointed, time and time again. Albertans have not benefited in any way from the mistakes and the missteps and the missed opportunities. That must change. In the last United Conservative leadership race, fewer than 60,000 Albertans decided the future of our province. 60,000 Albertans, less than 2% of adults in Alberta, decided our future. My campaign is going to reach out to that 2%. But as well, we are going to reach out to the like-minded voters in the other 98%. Those Albertans have not been heard. And we believe that they want to be heard. They need to be heard. They must be heard. We are asking you and all of them to sign up for briang.ca and sign up to make a difference. We are asking you to become involved and help set the direction, the tone, and the spirit of our party in a way that reflects the spirit and the tone of our province. Imagine the Alberta that we can create together. I'm inviting more everyday Albertans to help take control of the destiny of this party, the UCP, and the destiny of Alberta more than ever before. I'm asking everyday Albertans to get involved as an exercise in autonomy. They want and deserve a government that is in line with their wants, their needs, and their values. Autonomy for Albertans is the central theme of my campaign. Personal autonomy, financial autonomy, professional autonomy, community autonomy, and of course, Alberta's greater autonomy within Canada.
Provincial constitutionalism.
Autonomy is about a person's ability, or a community's ability, or our province's ability to act according to our values and interests. In the next several weeks, I'm going to champion ideas that ensure that Albertans are the happiest, healthiest, the most free, and the most prosperous people in Canada and the world. Our campaign will talk about transparency and accountability accountability in government so that our MLAs can and truly will represent their constituents. Caucus can represent voters to the government and not end up representing the Premier's office to voters. MLAs will keep the values and interests of everyday Albertans front and center in how a renewed United Conservative Party writes laws and creates regulations. I will propose an Alberta Accountability Act that strengthens our democracy. And my friends, we know we need to do that always, but right now especially, to regain the trust of Albertans. And my friends, our campaign will also talk about community building and the incredible importance of sustaining Alberta's communities, big, small, rural, and urban, of respecting their uniqueness and their differences, of recognizing that one size fits all doesn't always work. And with that comes a recognition that in so many of our communities, it is the presence of doctors, nurses, and teachers that sustain many of the things that really matter to all of us. My friends, provincial government decisions can make our towns, our counties, and our cities stronger. And when we get those decisions wrong, it makes our communities weaker. Let's stick stronger. Our campaign will talk about economic policies aimed at improving the lives of normal, everyday Albertans. Policies that will reduce their everyday costs in a time of high inflation. Policies that recognize the importance of the agricultural sector, which is so important to Alberta. Policies that lead to more and better jobs and more diversification. That lead to having the technologies of tomorrow being developed and exploited right here in Alberta. I will push for a transformation in our energy industry and its technologies. I know that our energy industry is more capable of developing practical, world-changing innovations than, for instance, the makers of windmills and solar panels. Innovations that impact us here at home in Alberta and throughout Canada and the world can and should be developed right here in Alberta by Albertans. I will resist the Trudeau-driven effort to transition our energy workers out of their jobs. Canada and the world need Alberta energy, and we will deliver it. I will push for a forward-looking agenda of economic prosperity. And of course, our campaign will talk about getting more autonomy for Albertans within Canada, about acting on the amazing mandate that Albertans gave this government in an equalization referendum. 62% of Albertans gave us permission to force the rest of Canada to the constitutional negotiation table. No Alberta government has ever had a bigger mandate to act. Canada is broken in many ways, but there's a strong belief that Albertans, with the rest of the country, can fix it. We can fix Canada if we work together and keep our autonomy strong. For some years now, we have been talking about a fair deal, but we have been too afraid to go to the negotiating table and try to get any deal at all, fair or not. We need to try for that fair deal. Constitutional negotiations will get Canada's attention. The time to start is right now. Imagine with me for a moment all of the improvements we can make to Canada over and above fixing equalization. We can repair the imbalances in political representation. We can ensure that no province can prevent another from selling its goods and services to the rest of the world. We can fix inadequate healthcare funding. There is so much that we can do if we work together. We can do it, folks. We can. We can either help fix Canada, which is a great place and amazing, the most wonderful country in the world, or Alberta. want to recognize our legitimate concerns. And that will lead to more and more Albertans agreeing to use all the tools, all the powers at our disposal to make sure that we increase and protect Alberta's economy. And my friends, at the center of all of this is making Albertans happy. That is the end goal. Making Albertans happy. As I travel the province and I speak with Albertans, I hear time and time again that we've lost some of the Alberta joy. Lost some of that Alberta enthusiasm that used to define us. Albertans used to be the most optimistic, forward-looking people in Canada. Now we are angrier at government and we're angrier at each other. And one thing is certain. Voting with anger in our hearts just guarantees more anger. Too many forces in our society try to divide us, to stop us from listening. Those with vested interests, including the NDP opposition, play up the differences and ignore how many things that we all have in common. But we can change that. We can be more positive. We can be more hopeful and more optimistic. We can work towards an Alberta that listens to people and respects the rights and have different opinions. We can work towards an Alberta where people can disagree without being disagreeable. We can return to a politics of listening and working together. We can focus on cooperation rather than conflict. We can recapture the happiness, the joy, and the optimism that characterized the Alberta I grew up in and the Alberta I want my daughter. In conclusion, if these things sound right to you, if these things excite you about the possibilities of politics in our future, if these things are what you think have been missing in Alberta, then please come on board and join my campaign. Go to briang.ca and sign up to create a more hopeful future for all of us. A future of personal autonomy where Albertans can act in their own principles and interests. A future where our communities, big and small, have more autonomy to serve the values and needs of the Albertans that actually live in them. A future where Alberta exercises its autonomy within Canada to provide a shining example of what can be achieved. This hopeful future can be ours if we work together. If people like you step up and sign it. So let's go forward together. Let's go forward towards that positive vision of our future in Alberta. Let's revive, revitalize, and renew the United Conservative Party. Let's make it what it was meant to be. Let's serve Albertans. Together we can make Albertans the happiest, the healthiest, the most prosperous, and the freest people in the world and in Canada for certain. God bless Alberta. God bless all of you. Thank you.
Need provincial constitutionalism. That's how you fix Canada. At least half the formula.
Thanks, folks. I'm going to figure out the coffee. I'd love to answer any of your questions. But better yet, I'd love to hear from you. Hear what you think of our
There's Peter. There's Brian. Let's see the media. I'm going to go up there. I'm tall enough.
Thank you so much.